running
like a
for mayor or something?
Yeah, he was
I
running
think
for
he was
mayor.
running for mayor or something like that. Yeah.
And his story sort of crossed into that of Nanabit Larson. And I mean, the performance from Sophie Grable as Sarah Lund and the other cast members in this as well, I think it sort of started the boom for foreign drama that we, as we said a couple of weeks ago when we talked about the disappearance, is that now it's sort of become oversaturated and we are basically getting everything now. The Bridge was one that I considered, but again, it was something that had sort of diminishing returns as it went on, certainly after Martin Road left. Borgen I enjoyed to start off with. Again, I never finished Borgen. And more recently, Hostages, the Israeli series, and Trapped, the Icelandic series. But I think The Killing was the sort of original and probably the best of.
I'm glad that they never did a British remake. I'm glad that they went off and did. That they never did that.
Because I saw The Killing again relatively recently compared to you both, and I was struck by the similarities between it and Broadchurch. Not to bring that up again.
Oh, definitely. I think
Broadchurch had the influence.
Let's look at it. I mean, you've got River, you've got Broadchurch and Marcella and others. I think it has definitely influenced British drama. I think it's tried to influence American drama.
I think certain elements as well.
Absolutely.
Was that your first foray into foreign drama? Was The Killing then, Matt? Was it?
I should think so. Yes. Yeah.
And that again, it was word of mouth. It was people saying what.
And it was me and my friends saying around the sort of same time that we wanted to watch this. I thought, I'll rent it, and we went through the discs. And I think when you've got someone to talk to about it, then it makes it. And obviously, in recent years, I've had this forum to talk about anything really.
You don't need friends anymore.
No, who needs friends?
Are we your friends, Matt? I didn't realise.
Oh yeah, you are.
So you're placing this on the list, but in your eyes, only series 1, not the subsequent 2.
Again, it was sort of diminishing returns as it went on. I think they struggled because obviously the structure of it, that you don't just follow the murder case, you follow 3 or 4 other stories going on around it. And I think they struggled with the other stories going around it in the next 2 series. That was what I would say.
The box sets to binge on Our Desert Island.
Again and again.
These are Matt's Desert Island dramas.
Well, so far so good.
From the team at the Custard TV podcast.
Now, this was an odd one for me, that the way I started watching this next one. It was sort of, and Luke will know as soon as I start talking about it and my experience viewing it what it is. I started watching it on repeats on afternoons on More 4.
I know what it is.
Even I know what it is.
It's The Good Wife. It grew into something that I really started to get interested in. Watched sort of the first 2 on these repeats, and then after that online, and then subsequently on More 4 in the evenings. I think with season 5, which again. There's a lot of these that season 5 is the best season of, in my eyes. 24 and now The Good Wife. I think this is the most sort of soapy of the list. But again, really well written.
Well,
again,
the Gilmore Girls is, I always presume is soapy, but I see what
it is. Yeah, it is.
Sort of, yeah. And both
more American
by
style.
husband-wife teams, the Gilmore Girls.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's good.
The Kings in this case. I think the link between all of these would be writers who have a real love for the characters of their things rather than the stories. Obviously, you need to have a good story, but if you haven't got the characters, then you don't have the show. And I think the Kings have a real love for Juliana Margulies' character. I mean, we know the show really. We've talked about it.
We know it. Yeah.
You know, she starts off as the sort of white politician's wife. Then she has to go back to being a lawyer. Gets in with one of her old law school colleagues who works at a prestigious firm, and then as it goes on, she works up the ranks of the law firm.
But can you remember why you would have just started it in the afternoons and why it grabbed you initially?
Well, there was nothing else on when, that sort of time.
Countdown was on.
No, I think it was before Countdown. I think it was on like 10.
All right, then. Because
it was sort of the 2 seasons together, I think it was, and one a day. I think it was more than if I'd watched it linearly 1 a week. You get to know the characters quicker that way. And I think certainly towards the end of season 2, the show came into its own. I think that it has that core of being a legal drama. So you get the case of the week, but you also get the interplay between the characters. I think as well what helped this was that the very unique character of Kalinda, played by Archie Panjabi, who I think is a different entity to anything you'd seen in a legal drama before. I mean, I had enjoyed Ally McBeal and the Boston Legal and things like that I'd enjoyed before, but they were very much sort of almost like comic dramas, whereas this was a drama first and foremost. It's very slick, very well produced, but has that level of emotion as well. Certainly season 5, when a prominent character gets shot and killed, there is a lot that goes on, and I think there you go, you realise how much you got to love the characters over time, because that hits you really hard. It's a show that maybe trailed off in its final 2 seasons as they lost.
I think you kind of have to just assume that's going to happen with an American show.
I think when you lose prominent characters, I think.
Matt's Desert Island Dramas.
I suffer from a condition, tardive dyskinesia, which is really, it's a funny word for a neurological disorder, and it makes me do this and this and but if you just look at me long enough, you get used to it. So feel free to look, and I won't mind. Now the good news is these pills. I take these every few hours, and they don't make the symptoms disappear completely, but they do diminish.
Objection!
Approach the bench.
Your Honor, defense counsel is using voir dire to argue his case.
You have to explain that to me.
This whole case hinges on a drug. Whether, in fact, an antidepressant drug your client manufactured made people want to kill themselves.
No, I'm simply trying to make sure that my symptoms won't be a distraction. Part of my voir dire is to determine who will have a problem with my condition and who will not.
Makes sense to me, Mrs. Florrick. Overruled.
As I was saying, I don't want my symptoms to be a distraction, but I have to tell you that they do intensify when I become perplexed, and I'm really transparent that way. So, for example, I don't want you to be distracted when my opponents are questioning.
Objection!
So, are we going to have a trial at some point?
Your Honor, Mr. Canning is trying yet again to taint this jury.
I was helping you this time. I just don't want my movements to be a distraction.
No, sir. You're guaranteeing that the jury will be watching you throughout our testimony to see how you react.
My God. The cynicism here is breathtaking. Have you thought maybe you might have a problem with disabled people?
All right. Mr. Canning, let's try to keep the pain, the outrage to a minimum here.
These aren't ordinary dramas. These are desert island dramas. The dramas that shaped us. Are you enjoying Matt's picks? Make sure you subscribe on iTunes for the latest episodes of the Custard TV podcast.
But would you say with all of the shows so far, you prefer things character-driven? Because Gary's was more concept-driven, wasn't it?
I think character. I mean, if it hasn't got the concept, then it's going to fail. But I think characters more so. I think. I don't know if this applies to the next one though, which is the other crossover with Gary, Line of Duty.
Yes.
Right. Line of Duty, you could almost say, is a bit like a British version of The Wire. I think it's growing into it. As I said, with a lot of these shows, they've sort of diminished in quality as they've gone on. This has grown in quality with every season. There's not a lot to say. What I will say is that I think a lot of what works in Line of Duty is the fact that they've got the time, they've got the bravery to do these long, drawn-out interrogation scenes.
Sitting down, people talking, and just being hooked in on that.
And the factual basis of those, they do it very much, they've got the police
Something that never really hit me before that I remembered whilst watching this last series is they don't sit there and say, right, we've got this bit of evidence. They do it in real, right? Evidence 240 zip. That's what you're saying. Is it? They're
now
not
showing
everything.
Yeah, and you have those shocking elements like the Jessica Raine character being pushed out the window, which was, the first series I liked, but I think it was going to that series 2 screening, sitting there, seeing that scene, being surrounded by the cast and just getting, I love this series. I think Keeley Hawes helped really to bring this into its own. The second series, I think, was a lot more talked about than the first. And the third one was even more so. I think this last series we've just had was absolutely fantastic.
Matt's Desert Island Dramas.
Don't flatter yourself, Steve. I might have been a complete emotional wreck, but I didn't want you. We were just two lonely people having a fumble. It might have sounded convincing on tape, but it was empty and it was pathetic.
Back to planting of evidence. The accusation's been around so long that people are starting to think they don't have to prove it. Instead, it's down to me to disprove it. You know the truth. You know I didn't do it.
I've just spent 1.5 years of my life in prison. I've lost everything. My home, my job, my whole future. Maybe now you've got a taste of what it's like to know that you're innocent and yet still have your whole life destroyed. So let me be clear. That money was put in my house to frame me. I am innocent. I am the victim in all of this.
You're unbelievable.
No, I want justice. And I don't care how unjustly I get it.
Everything about it worked. It was well paced, well acted. I think the entire ensemble cast, there's Vicky McClure, Adrian Dunbar, Martin Compston, Craig Parkinson. Those 4 actors, I think, are so good, and I just think it's just such a brilliant edge of your seat drama. I was pacing around I was standing up at the end of that last episode and just pacing around the living room, just like
Have you recommended it to anyone?
Yeah, I've tried. Yeah, I have recommended it to several people at work because it's on Netflix now, isn't it?
Do you miss though? Because a lot of these you've watched with other people. Do you miss?
I feel like I'm sort of watching it with you guys now because we talk about it. So,
as you say, it's that chat afterwards. Again, it goes back to my one about my conversations with my uncle. It goes back to that fact that television is a social thing as well, and it makes you want to talk about it. Talk about what
I
you
think
like.
now we've got Twitter as well.
Yeah,
everybody's in on it together rather than sitting down with more. Yeah, I get that, but it is nice, isn't it, to after it finishes to go, wow, wasn't that amazing?
Yeah.
So, but I suppose, the 3 of us do that now.
Can you guess what my last one is? Probably not.
Is this your 10?
Have we already done 10?
Oh.
Yeah.
Crikey,
okay.
your list.
Well, based on the fact that you said that you didn't have...
Must be another British show.
And must be quite recent. Because he's going chronologically.
And he's not having Happy Valley.
It's not the one set in Yorkshire. Not the one.
No,
with
he's
the
not
old
having that.
He's no. The one with the old people in it.
No. That's Tango. That would have been between
we know
the good wife.
We know it's not Scott and Bailey.
Shall I tell you?
No, I'm going to guess this.
No, we'll get there if it's more recent.
This is not. This is England.
You know what? We might not get there.
No,
Would we have got there?
Hold on. 13.
No.
Okay.
No. Go on.
Utopia is my last one.
Oh yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I tell you what, your list is far cooler than you are. How is that even possible?
Again, I wanted this to be as varied as
How
possible.
have you done that though? How have you made a list this cool? Go on.
You stole me
Utopia.
off someone else, surely.
Yeah,
It's from The Guardian, this list.
It's a comic.
No, it's a graphic novel. It's called The Utopia Experiment. It's about a scientist who makes a deal with the devil.
If just one of those conspiracy theories is proved, just what about Utopia then? Don't start that Nostradamus crap. Tell him, Becky.
There are some things in it that are a bit odd. Think that after the manuscript, there must be something in it that they won.
My name is Jessica Hyde. Come with me now or you'll all die. My dad wrote Utopia.
Where is Jessica Hyde?
Your lives as you knew them are over. If you can adjust, you will live. If you can't, you will die.
Like the first episode of Series 2 of Line of Duty, this was very much a series you watch the first episode and you go, wow, that's completely different to anything I've ever seen. I think.
Well, you might even watch it and go, what was that? What did I
do
just
remember
see?
thinking that when I watched it. What the hell
I think
is this?
like the colour, the themes. I mean, the fact that this is written by one of the co-writers of Pulling, You would never have guessed that. I just think it is such an original